This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. In the state of Maine, the Portland City Council passed a resolution Monday night to allow Portland's mayor to participate in lawsuits against ICE. The vote came after federal agents conducted immigration raids in Portland and in Lewiston as part of what the Trump administration has called Operation Catch of the Day. They are playing on the fact that Maine is well known for its seafood as they talk about catching people. Operation Catch of the Day. Lewiston and Portland have sizable Somali populations, just like Minneapolis. The resolution passed by the Portland City Council noted that attendance at some schools has decreased by 20% and that many workers are afraid to leave their homes. Maine state lawmakers are also considering legislation aimed to keep ICE out of schools, healthcare facilities, public libraries. Lewiston Mayor Carl Shaleen testified last week.
As the mayor of Lewiston, I'm advocating strongly for LD 2106. This bill protects the people of Maine as they visit and use our community institutions and also safeguards their personal information from our tyrannical and authoritarian federal government. I wish that things were different, but they are not. Mass government agents are here snatching our residents and sowing fear and terror. This bill allows our neighbors to safely visit their doctor, check out a book, and go to second grade. Passage of this bill also sends a strong message that this legislature stands in complete resistance to the federal government's slide into fascism. I appreciate Representative Sato for sponsoring this bill and the committee's time. Thank you.
We're joined now by Mufalo Chitam, the executive director of the Maine Immigrants Rights Coalition, based in Portland, Maine. The group represents over 100 member organizations. Operation Catch of the Day? Mufalo Chitam, it's horrifying to even say that. But can you talk about what has happened in the last weeks? Have you experienced an ICE surge in Maine? I'm not talking about the weather. And talk about who's been arrested, who's been taken, and how you're organizing with the Maine Immigrant Rights Coalition.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to think about the, catch of a day. But again, we're a state where, like you said, we're a lobster state. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind. I mean, since January 20th, when I got the first verification at 7:45, and 4 or 5 days later, it was just sheer panic. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I think you kind of watch these things on TV, and then when you see them down the streets, it just sends a very wave of fear, and it was just panic. It was just panic. So, but our organization has been really planning for this. We didn't think we were going to be, this soon. We thought they would come, but not this soon. But our organizing, our hotline, we had over 5,000 plus, increase in phone calls, for the next 5 days after January 20th. It was just boots on the ground. It was just boots on the ground. But we've been organizing, as we started seeing the people who are being picked up, it just became real, it just became real because it was your neighbor, it was also, just somebody that you go to church with. And when we heard that they were coming for the worst of the worst, that was really painful to see because it was just ordinary people that we know. One of our community leaders was picked up on the first day, and should, basically, you look at what she's being claimed to have done. it's just a mother, just a poor mother, just trying to make a life here in the United States. But yeah, it's been really, really challenging. But we've been organizing, as you heard from the mayor, from Lewiston, LD, 2106, is one of the legislation that we are, advocating that it passes to keep our communities safe, And now, since last week, it's been very hard to tell people that they are safe, that they can go back to work, because we don't know who they are targeting. When we saw, the number of people who were being arrested, there was no pattern. So it gets very hard to tell somebody, that they are safe. And so people have been sheltering in place, and the community really did a great job, organizing themselves, getting information, getting to know your rights, also curbing rumors. So, it's been great to see, our community sheltering in place and getting informed. But it's been also amazing to see the larger community come to our aid. People buying groceries for folks, picking up their prescriptions, picking up their kids. It's just been a community support, and we're very, very grateful that as a small state, community means a lot. Most people, including myself, we moved to the state of Maine because of that sense of security. You could let your child walk down the street. If your child could walk to school, you could let them. But now it's very, very challenging for parents to let their children walk down the street. So that sense of stability, has gone. And, that's what becomes very hard. When you destabilize a community, it's very, very difficult to have that back, for people to still feel that sense of security. So you're always looking over your shoulder. You're always, suspecting who's that one in that car. When you hear a knock on your door, you don't know when or if to even open. So it's very, very challenging right now for people to really feel safe, to really feel that, they are a target or they're not a target. So we've been organizing, and we'll continue advocating, for the immigrant rights here in our state. And for us, it's really eyes out of Maine.
I wanted to ask you, most Americans are not aware that there's a significant immigrant community in Maine, especially of Somalis. Could you talk about the evolution of that community, how it developed and how it grew?
Yeah, I think it's been over, right now, I would say, I think over like 10, 15 years, when we saw, the increased number of, people of Somali descent come to the state of Maine. And so Lewiston, one of our board chair lives in Lewiston, and she tells the story of when she moved to Lewiston from Atlanta, there were only like 3 immigrants, and they were Somalis. And fast forward, people move to a community because of somebody that looks like them or somebody that speaks their language and knows their culture. And so as people started moving to Lewiston, that community started growing, not because of anything, but because there were people who could help them integrate. People who could help them, learn the language, help them, get a job. And so over the years, that community has grown. We have a lot of, nonprofits. Some of our organizations, are based in Lewiston. We saw businesses thrive. We saw nonprofits thrive. We saw schools, getting, more diverse. And so over the years, Lewiston has become one of the states that, most of our immigrants. From 2019, we also saw an increased number of people who came in seeking asylum, from different countries other than Somali. So we have people from Angola and from Congo who live in Lewiston. So it's not just people from Somali who live in Lewiston. And so it is a growing state, and we're proud of what our immigrants are doing in the city of Lewiston.
Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.